right, everybody, welcome back. I'm here with Mr. Shadow and Mr. Mysterious Man. Um, we today are going to talk about a topic in which falls in line with, I guess, what it would be considered not so much a feminine tactic, but more along the line. Well, yeah, I guess in an emotional way, it can be considered that. Everybody else, introduce yourselves again.
Mystery Man.
I'm Shadow. Welcome back, guys.
All right. So now that we've already chose a topic, I'd like to hear an instance from each one of you, or an example in your life, in when you've seen a group of people, or usually men, a group of men, and they were really tough together. Unfortunately, on their own, they were not.
All right,
Mm,
I'm
I've
Shadow.
seen I've seen that a lot, but I can't really think of any particular incidences. But usually, that's something that I've personally seen in the very ghetto parts of town. That whole gang mentality thing. But when it
Yeah,
comes
sure.
to confrontations man to man, and your friends ain't there to back you up, I've seen a lot of that before. You situations like that, you could tell who's really the tough guy versus who's really just a scared little bitch trying to act like a tough guy.
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen the similar situations myself.
Mm.
Okay.
Oh, there's always that one guy that tries to be tough, or not saying that one guy, the one group that tries to act tough.
Hmm.
As soon as someone catches on, or they're starting to get in trouble, like they all scatter like roaches. They don't know each other. They snitch on themselves sometimes. They just want to protect themselves because they know what they did bad. Because I think if they're in a group together, that they're invincible, that nothing could be done to them. But
Hmm.
eventually, it's gonna happen. Just don't know
Yeah.
when.
Hmm.
So the reason why we brought that up is because, as we know, um, men men we're here to protect, right? To protect the ones we love and all that good stuff. Um,
Yeah,
but our main part is protect, and it doesn't necessarily mean just protect physically. Of course, it does. But then it comes down to also emotionally, mentally. So as men, we have to be built like that. Um, we have to show structure and strength throughout our whole being. And usually, men who have, I guess, a feminine tendency or tactic, and they utilize that is, women are group thinkers. So women are usually in a group. They feel
You got
more,
that right.
they feel more in the flock. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So then, from there you'll see who's who really. Um, and there's certain men that are, you know, kind of emotional, that will attach themselves like a woman does to other men. They just don't know that they're doing it. They think that's normal, but in reality, it's a real man does not need to be protected. A real man protects himself. He's here to protect. So,
yeah,
so if you see, you know, a guy who needs to be around a lot of other guys to feel tough or feel manly, or
Hmm.
any of that, it's usually because, again, he needs to feel protected, which
Hmm.
no real man needs to be protected. He just protects. That's just how that works. I've seen it in many instances as well. I mean, I'm talking from my work to outside of work, where you see, the teenage kids, or when they're in the group, they're wild. You catch just one by
Mm-hmm.
themselves. They're like really quiet and walking with their mommy, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
it's again that goes along the same lines where um, since they don't understand structure and they don't know what it's really like to have a foundation of masculinity, that's where that
Self
comes from.
reliance.
Self-reliance, all that good stuff,
Yeah.
self-support, if you really look at it,
Yeah.
you because
Mhm.
we don't need that as men. We don't need attention. We don't need
Yeah.
validation. If you're a man and you're looking for validation when it comes down to like the attention of how pretty you are, you know what I mean, or how you may look, then
Mm-hmm.
that's not something we concentrate on. We're not worried. We take care of ourselves, of course. We take care of our bodies. We love ourselves for who we are, um, but we're not out there. I guess we can't feel bad. I guess is the best way to put it. If somebody tries to put us down, because
Yeah.
we are sure in who we are as men, so we don't need somebody else's words to make me feel better. I already feel good as a man. That's what a real man does. A real
Yeah.
man has control of his feelings as well, which is
Mm-hmm.
considered emotional control. And so we go back to those guys that always want to be in groups. It's okay to be in a group, like kind of like we are, right? We're in a nice little
Mm-hmm.
support group, I guess we can call it. We we don't we tell each other the truth. We tell each
Yes.
other how we can better each other. We may give pointers on, like I said, I've learned stuff from Mr. Shadow.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes down to being quiet and learning the power of silence. And I
Mm-hmm.
actually executed it perfectly in a situation which I had, and it came out beautifully for me. So I learned something new, and I executed
Fantastic.
it, and it was spectacular. So I had a great
Yep.
outcome, and I mean, the situation's still ongoing, but again, I took that advice. So that type of communication is what men give each other. We don't hug each other and tell each other how beautiful we are. That's just not.
No,
You
it's not.
know what I mean? That's not how we are. And you know,
Yeah.
a real man, again, when he comes down to solving the issues, when we have an issue as men, we solve. We look for the fix. We concentrate on the solution. That is what we do as men.
Mm-hmm.
So if you see a guy that's sitting around and he's constantly complaining, that's a feminine
That means
tactic.
he's using too much damn feelings is what he's doing. He's not thinking about the facts and the solutions. He's just sitting there stewing in the feelings.
Yes. So that's my point exactly. So when you see
Mm-hmm.
these guys in groups, the guys that
Mm-hmm.
love to be in those type of groups, you can see them.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of
Yeah.
pop out. They'll one will be like
Mm-hmm.
a mean girl, like the pretty mean
Mm-hmm.
girl, and then the other
Mm-hmm.
one would be like the one that's always kissing that one's butt, and then the other one will
Mm-hmm.
be the one who will do anything for that group or sacrifice themselves for that group. So they'll, they
Mm-hmm.
got these weird, how shall I say, they adapt to these characters in a way where it's not them, and then they no longer are themselves, because like I said, a man who's constantly complaining is not really a man. He's being emotional, and he doesn't have that emotional control. Because if he's worried about the problem, then he's not worried about the solution. You know what I mean? He's not concentrating on the solution.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
we've had this conversation, I believe, with Mr. Shadow, in which, as when we talk, we give each other examples of our issue, and we try to find a solution. And his solution may be different than mine. The mystery man might give me a different solution, and I may be able to combine them and make a better solution than what I thought on my own. But again,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we are talking about the solution. we are not talking
Mm-hmm.
about the problem in itself. Like, we're not worried about the problem. That's what women
Yes.
do. When you see women,
Exactly.
what women do is they concentrate on the problem,
Mm-hmm.
and they can't see the solution. That's why it's good that a woman has a real man in her life, because then that way she can confide that he's going to find a solution. You know,
Yes.
a great example that I have personally is, I have a family member, and she's going through some stuff, and
Yes.
I always ask her, this is another way where you can avoid some issues if, let's say, it's you and your spouse or you and your girlfriend. This is a really good way. Is I ask her right before she's about to tell me everything. I ask her, wait, I need to know right now. When I hear you out, are you looking for a solution, or are you looking for me just to hear you out and for you just to vent? That in itself, then she will be able to look at it and say, well, I'm telling you because I'm just venting. So now all I got to do is just absorb whatever is coming, right? As opposed
Mm-hmm.
Right.
to if she says, well, I kind of need a solution to this. What do you think is the best? Then I could tell her, oh, okay, now I have to analyze the situation so I could come out with the best
Mm-hmm.
outcome, or what would be the solution of it. So, the best tactic to solve that issue. So, those are, how shall I say, those are, ways of being able to communicate with the opposite, with a female, or with a feminine girl. It's a good way to be
Yeah.
able to make her understand, hey, this is how I work that if you tell me a problem, I'm going to solve it. And if you
Yes.
notice, I've met a lot of couples where their main problem is she just wants to be heard out, and he wants to solve the
Mm-hmm.
problem, and he's
Exactly.
upset
Yep.
because he won't he she doesn't listen to his solution, and she's upset
Exactly.
because she doesn't want the solution, she just wants to be heard. So they're like, mm,
Oh
mm,
man, dude,
you know
preaching to the choir here,
so
man. How many times have we gone through that? Even I mean, even when you have a good woman with you, the women will be women, right? That happens.
Yeah,
It
it's
just
always gonna
happens.
happen.
Sometimes that's part of life. That's part of life, right? I could think of a great example right now. Geez, not to get too specific about it, but between my lady and me, she was over with me the other night, and she ended up having an anxiety attack, right? And so what happened was, I was, uh, I was. It occurred to me, well, you know what? The solution may not be what I'm thinking it should be right away, because usually most of us, we see that somebody's having anxiety like that, you think, okay, well, maybe now's the time to be more tender or something like that. But I thought, you know what? No, right now that's not what's needed. So I was being firm with her, and I saw that she was freaking out. So I tell her, hey, no, 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 no. You're not focusing on that bad energy right now. You need to focus on me, and you need to breathe. So I was making her breathe. I was telling her, come on, babe, in and out. Come on, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Relax, relax, relax. It's going to be over soon. Just last for a couple minutes. Don't forget to breathe. Focus on me. Don't let your mind, run wild, because that's what makes those day anxiety attacks even worse. They're
Yeah.
just thinking about the what if this, what if the that, catastrophizing. That's just they're their own worst enemy in that regard. So I forced her out of that. I told her, nope, you're not doing that right now. You're focusing on me. And she did that. And about a minute later, she felt better. I told her, you see, it's not that I'm being mean. It's that I'm being firm for you, for your benefit, for your well being. Now she understands it more. So it's a blessing in disguise, I guess.
yeah. So, and like I said, that is, a good reason that we need our structure as men. Masculinity is
Yes.
is structure.
Yes.
um, and with that structure, we can protect themselves. Oh, I'm sorry. We can protect
Hmm.
them, which is
From themselves.
the women, from
Yeah.
themselves. That is the whole point
Absolutely.
of all that is to show
Hmm.
that, you know. Now imagine if you were one of those men that was in those groups.
Hmm.
How would your mentality be different? How would you be thinking? How would you deal with that situation if you're already an emotional man and
Hmm.
you're confronted with this situation in which masculinity would be the best solution, would be the best outcome of
Yeah.
that. So, and but this man
Mm.
is bringing all this emotion back to her, and now it creates a
It's gonna
giant
make it
ball.
worse.
Aha! It creates a giant ball of
Hmm.
emotions, and now we're going back and forth, but we don't realize where the problem lies in that. Because
Hmm.
again, if you're a man, biologically man, who has been brought
Hmm.
up with just a mother, single mother home type of situation, or even where you may have a weak father, um,
Hmm.
that structure is not as strong, and then
Yes.
you can't save the girl because you can't save yourself, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're again, we have to be self-sufficient in every single
Mm.
aspect, in order to be the correct man for whatever woman.
Yep.
In that instance, you stood up and you did what you had to do, which was, at least from my point of view, it's correct. Um,
Yeah.
but now we go back and we think, wow, those guys that are in those groups, why are they in those type of groups where they feel strong, where they're in a group, but
Hmm.
how are they really when they're alone? And how do they deal with their relationships when it comes down to, we'll call it an urgent matter like that you had? That's my question.
Well, what I'd like to add to that is I think this situation we're describing here, a lot of that, in all honesty, sounds like the average adolescent years of young guys, specifically here in the United States. I mean, um, oh, my bad, almost mentioned a real name there.
Ah, fine.
Being in high school, you know how that goes. You're hanging around with all these other kids. You're all just kids. You're being
Yeah.
morons all together, right? You're just being jerks, talking all this smack, just being dumb kids. That's what it is. But I think the problem is that there's a lot of guys out there that don't grow out of that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like they don't think to themselves after graduation, all right, dude, you know what? I'm graduated. We're not kids anymore. Now we're supposed to be acting like adults. You know what I mean? So that means no more going out with the boys, acting like morons together, just being idiots, and stuff like that. They don't grow out of that, and they don't learn how to grow as a person by themselves. They don't know how to handle their own problems by themselves. They can't handle solitude. So it's a lot of things, right? What do you guys think about that?
What do you think about
No,
that?
I think you're right.
Okay.
Those guys keep that mentality for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
They will never grow out of it ever
Mhm.
because they're so used to it.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's what people with grown men, they have jobs, 9 to 5s, and they still act like that.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
crazy because they still think it's high school.
Yeah, exactly. Like some guys just never let go of that. They never grow up. But I mean, me personally, um, I only have one person that I really consider to be a real personal friend nowadays. Because, not, I don't think I'm so high and mighty. I don't think I got it all figured out. But, the older I'm getting, the more I'm realizing, all the friends that I had when I was in high school or even back in my early 20s, I'm starting to see that it's all just, just a bunch of a bunch of crap, dude. You know, all they want to do is get intoxicated all the time, drinking, getting high on weed or whatever else. There's just not much there. You know?
Yeah, they don't want to better themselves.
Yeah, exactly. They don't want to better themselves. They don't want to, move on in life. They just want to keep acting like it's still, like we're still kids. They want to act like kids until the day they die.
Yeah,
And then a lot of it is another part of it, I think, is also uh, cowardism too. I think, because they feel the need. Like Tygon mentioned, they're tough in a group, but they can't handle anything on their own. But I think a guy, a real man, knows that he doesn't actually need a group because he knows how to behave out there. He's not going to just be getting himself into stupid situations. And if somebody does happen to mess with him, then he knows how to physically and verbally and mentally defend himself and all that, so he doesn't need no one else. That's how I see it.
yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, it goes back to the thing that we always, because you touched on a lot of different little subjects that I like to, or details that I like to bring up a lot, they usually help
Yeah,
the younger crowd of young men. A lot
of
of
course.
it has to do with, you if you're concentrating on, how shall I say, your recreational time more than you
Mm,
are on your progress time, then you are cutting your life a little bit shorter. And you are also not growing. You're not going to progress if you're constantly doing the same thing over and over. When it comes down
mm-hmm,
to what you did when you were a kid, like if I play video games all day and I'm sitting in my mom's basement, that's a problem.
mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah,
that's an issue. Um, and like I told Mr. Shadow over here, I told him one time. I said, "Look, the way to measure, because I like to tell people how to measure themselves. You know what I mean? Like I think I asked you as well, Mr. Man. Um, when I
mm,
said, do you think you're well off, right? But how do you measure that well off? Well, I have, small little things like your budget. Let's just say, if I don't have
yes,
enough, if I don't have enough money to buy the car that I want, brand new, right?
yeah,
If I don't have the actual money in my hand, then I can't feel that secure about me as a man because I'm missing that. Because God forbid there's some type of situation, or let's say the car that you have right now, all of a sudden it just goes kaput. And it happens,
yeah,
and
yeah,
now you got to buy another car. Are you gonna be able to
mm-hmm,
buy your car that you want brand new? If you can't, then the answer is you're not stable yet. You know,
yeah,
I base that now. Not everybody has the same base, of course. Um, I just say it that way because it's easier for you to measure it, and now you have a
yes,
direct goal and how much you have to save or what that goal is gonna look like. And you don't have to have the full money and go buy your car. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is you have the money, and if you feel like buying it, you buy it, and if you don't, you don't. But you have that choice. You see, because you understand that the car is not gonna make you better. The car does
yes,
not make you a
yeah.
better man. You know, like if you were to look at my,
No,
if you guys were to see my bucket, everybody would laugh. you know, because I'm
well,
secure in me.
hmm,
There's
yes,
a girl who told me, "Oh, why do you drive that if you know you could buy a brand new car?" And I'm like, because unless you're gonna buy it, then I don't care. I'm not trying to impress you. I'm not trying to impress anybody. I'm me, you
yeah,
know? And unfortunately, I don't feel like buying it, because I don't feel it's gonna make me I don't feel like compensating for something. You know, I'm what they call
Yeah.
the minimum average type of guy. You know what I mean? I'm like,
Yeah.
but I don't again, I don't have anything to show anybody. I don't care about that. I don't want to show anybody anything. Really. I am who I am. And people see my
Hmm.
Yeah.
character because I'm a real man. It's I feel it, you know. I people around me, they're like, "Oh, this guy is not like every other guy. Why is that?" Then they start asking me questions, and then they'll start noticing that, okay, he does not think like everybody else, you know, because I have a progressive mind. You know, my mindset is progressive. Of course, I I always look at it. If I'm gonna make a move, I better get something out of it. If I'm not getting something out of it, then what am I doing? You know, that's
Yeah.
my mentality, right? So if I'm gonna hang around with this group of guys, you know, because that's really what we're talking about, is
Yes.
if I'm gonna be in this group of guys, these guys better be progressing in one way or the other, or I better be
Hmm.
teaching them something, um, or they might be teaching me something where we're both progressing. That's what it's all
Yeah.
about. You know, it's
Yeah, because if there's no progressing anybody, then it's just, just being straight up. It's just a bunch of bums sitting around uh, doing nothing,
yeah. So
right?
I mean,
Yeah.
that's a good way to measure the people you surround yourself with. You know, because
Hmm.
when you're in a group and you feel tough, something's wrong with you.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
got
yeah.
you got way
Yeah.
more issues than what you think you have. If you feel safe
Yeah.
amongst other men, that you feel protected, you got issues, my brother.
It just sounds weird.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Like, it doesn't sound right, you know.
right, right. If I need Mr. Shadow to protect me because you know he's a little bit taller than me, a little bit bigger than me, I got problems. I really do have problems
Yeah.
because I should be able to protect myself. I should be able to get myself out of whatever situation I get myself into. You know, I should have.
Or better yet,
Hmm.
you should know how to stay away from those bad situations and not get yourself into some bull crap, right?
Exactly.
Even better.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a real man knows how to avoid those situations. To be honest with you, that's the main part of it right there. The main part is
Yeah.
so a real man should be able to again be self-sufficient, be able
Yeah.
to be himself at all times, be able to do everything on his own. Being alone as a man should not be loneliness. It should be your time
Yeah.
to work on yourself. It should be your time to get to know yourself even more. And what I've noticed
Hmm.
is a lot of these guys that are in a group or that like to be in those groups, they do everything possible to not be alone.
They're
Because
scared of solitude.
there you go. And they're scared because they are scared of themselves. They don't know
Exactly.
themselves. They don't love themselves like I guess I would, maybe you would, Shadow Man would. You guys know that understand that self-love in the aspect of I can be alone with myself all day and I had a great time.
Mhm.
You know, I could be with my family
Yeah.
all day and I had a spectacular time and I probably would have a better
Mhm.
time with my family members than I would with some crazy guy who just wants to get intoxicated, which
Hmm.
makes
Absolutely.
absolute no sense to me. Because then we go back to I don't know if you remember, Mr. Shadow. I asked you, um, would you give your own kid, um, what? How was it that I put it? Do you remember how I rephrased it?
I think it's something about learning how to fight or something. Was it?
No, it was with remember your kid. I used I
Oh, like
used
I would do that for my own kid.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There you go. So a lot of
Yeah.
us will walk around and we'll feed ourselves poison, and we'll feed our friends poison, um, but we won't feed it to a kid who's not yours, who you don't know, but you won't be able to give it to them because that's not in your heart to give it to them. Why? The question is because it's poison, because it's bad for that kid,
Yeah.
but yet we'll consume it ourselves and we'll damage ourselves. We will eat that junk food. We will snort stuff. I don't want to say it too. I don't want to say stuff. You know what I mean? We will consume that poison and drink it. We'll go ahead and light it up and consume all that nasty stuff and inhale it
Mm-hmm.
and kill our lungs, kill our brains. But we
Mm-hmm.
won't give that to a kid we don't know. So the question becomes, do we love that kid more than we love ourselves? And if we do, why? Why do we think so low of ourselves that we have to damage ourselves every single day? And then that comes back to the same thing. Why wouldn't we want to be the best versions of ourselves? And the best way to do that is to be able to protect ourselves as if we were our own kid. Like, would you feed your kid that nasty fast food? Or would you want to make him a healthy meal? Of course, you would want the best for your child. You want the healthy meal. So then
Yes.
Yeah.
you would treat yourself the same way. Do you want your kid to have discipline? Yeah.
Mm.
Kid needs discipline. So you show him. Do you want him to have good friends? Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So you teach him how to choose good friends. Okay. So as we were saying, usually guys that are in the group, they usually suffer for some type of, I guess, fatherless behavior. We'll call it for the moment, and it has to do with, usually guys that are in the group, you can tell that they're only out for themselves the minute the police arrives. The minute authority arrives, they all of a sudden scatter, and they're no longer the same unit they used to be. And they're not as strong anymore. They all happen to scatter out, and they all disappear on each other. And I don't believe that's, how shall I say, manning up to the situation. And like I was saying, all the poison that we can feed each other, you can kind of tell the mentality in that aspect where it's okay to, I guess, not subconsciously, but indirectly damage each other. Because the question becomes, how many times have I told you, Mr. Shadow, that you should drink?
Never.
How many times have I told you, hey, you know what, we should smoke?
Never.
All right, then we'll go back to the other side. How many times have I told you, hey, you know what, we should eat healthier?
Yeah, multiple times.
Hey, man, we should take care of ourselves and go to the gym.
Yeah,
You see?
multiple times.
So that's what I mean, is you got to surround yourself not with people that make you tougher, in quotes, or that people that you feel more all of a sudden protected, because that's not the situation you should be in the first place. And second part of it is you should be surrounding yourself with the right people. If you really care for yourself, you want to be around people that are going to help you out in your progress, not the people that are going to try to drag you down and keep you at the level where you were when you were in high school.
Yeah.
And a lot of those groups, again, they just feed each other, the same delusion back and forth, where they kind of just feed off of each other in a way, and it becomes like a toxic, weird relationship that they have, in which they much rather be with each other miserably than to be alone.
Yeah.
And it's pretty evident that they really don't care for each other if the authorities come and then they run their separate ways. That's pretty evident. That, I'm sure if you and I are driving down the street to a restaurant to go eat or whatever, with our families together, have a nice little dinner party, and we happen to get pulled over, I'm not gonna get out of the car and run, or I'm not gonna go out and get on a high-speed chase. That's doesn't I'm not that scared, because I'm not worried about anything. I haven't done anything, so I have nothing to run from. you know. And that goes back to what we were saying is these guys are running from themselves, and they're constantly running from themselves, and at the same time they're scared to be alone because they're running from themselves. And it's a very it's a very, in a way, depressing situation, because they can't get out of their way. They can't progress because they're stuck, and at the same time they frustrated because they're not moving, and they blame everybody else instead of just accepting reality, bettering themselves, and looking for the future.
Yeah.
You know, so with all that said, it's very important. We keep, I guess, repeating the same thing in some instances of, you should really love yourself, and you should really take care of yourself. And a good way to do that is treat yourself like you would treat your child. If that's if you love your child, of course. if
Yeah.
Yeah, because some people don't like their own. Anyways, that's a whole different subject. But treat yourself like if you were to treat somebody you love, and
Yeah.
that way you can love yourself more. Because it's very important. Self-love is very important, believe it or not. Because you avoid problems, you avoid the toxic people around you. You learn who's who. You learn who's going to give you good advice and who's going to give you terrible advice. Who's going to make you do bad things, who's going to make you do good things, and who's going to help you progress. And that's what it's all about, really, is, who's going to be able to be next to me, so we can progress forward. So, because us as men, we need a community, regardless of what anybody else may say. And emotional control is something that needs to be in a male community, and other men should be able to call the other man out respectfully, of course. There's no need to be all mean about it,
Like, like our hatred to each other.
There's no need for all that. We're all equal, and we should all stay equal. But we should be able to help each other out in that aspect, because, like I said, the whole reason why we keep doing this, and why we have this little, I guess, kind of masculinity community that we have, or masculine community that we have now, is because of that same reason. We help each other business wise. We help each other in our personal issues. We help each other with our self improvement. And that's in a good way that makes you feel like you're not alone. There's other people that can help you. People that's manly support. That's not like, again, we're not females, so we're not going to be emotional all the time about things. And we're not going to be sometimes nice about it. We're going to be more cut and dry because we're men. That's how we speak, and we speak to each other, So we're not sitting here trying to insult each other and trying to disrespect each other. But we also, talk to each other firm. And, I'm going to ask you the question. Would you much rather have the ugly truth, or would you much rather have pretty lies?
Ugly truth.
Right? So, in that aspect, we think the same. And most men think that way as well. That's what we want. That's why sometimes we'll go and tell a woman the truth. And unfortunately, that's not what you wanted.
But girls and girls, they lie to each other. Oh, you're beautiful, when it's like an obese, not attractive woman. You see that everywhere online.
Oh, yeah, no, online. I've seen it in person.
That's why it's like offensive.
Yeah,
To call someone fat, they're like, oh no, they're plus size. I'm like, what?
they're they're big back.
Yeah. Now they call them plus size is more
Plus,
friendly to say.
well, I mean, yeah. So you can see it in that aspect is, um, as men, we can tell each other the truth straight out and be like, no, bro, you're big. There's
Oh yeah.
fix yourself. I mean, we don't, try this, try that. Maybe you should do this different. We give each other pointers on how to get rid of that problem. Because again, we're trying to solve the problem. Do you see what I'm saying? We're trying to solve that
Yeah.
problem. The women are trying to stay in that problem and think of the problem. They don't think outside of that. That's why their insecurities are so much higher than ours. And that's another thing is if you have insecurities as a man, that you need to be in a group to feel secure. Wow. Those are some serious issues you might have because those insecurities as a man, they create an emotion. And if you don't have emotional control of those insecurities, wow, it's going to be a hard, long road for you. because life to us as men, life is pretty rough to us. And we understand it, because a woman would straight out tell you what's wrong with you. But the minute you turn around and tell her what's wrong with her, there's tears.
Yeah.
It's a very ugly double standard. But again, we don't, since they're more fragile, we don't want to hurt them. So we try to refrain from actually telling them the truth. But then, if they don't have that emotional control as a woman, they're going to let their emotions get the best of them, and it's going to turn into a very bad situation. And just like Mysterious Man was just explaining to us, he had a urgent situation where she was emotionally not in control, and she let, I guess, whatever her excessive thoughts were, get the best of her, and then it started to affect her physically. And it was up to him to tell her, hey, control your emotions. I'm here. I got you. Need you to relax. Everything's going to be fine. Everything is fine. You're just creating this on your own. I need you to please come back down and, concentrate on us being together. So, that's something to learn from. Where, again, women need us. They do. As much as they say they don't, they need us. We save them from themselves. We have numerous examples of that. And plus, we are great problem solvers. That's what we do. We solve issues.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, we hunt. We go get what we need to get. And if you as a man could try to be the best man you can be by, eating right, reading as much as you can, having better knowledge, learning how to use that knowledge, because then it becomes wisdom, being able to physically be, the best version of yourself, all these things it's going to bring you to feel better about yourself and to love yourself a little bit more. And the minute you love yourself, you're going to see that these women are going to love you too. And they're going to want to be with you because you're not trying to be with them. You're happy just how you are. You're happy with yourself. And once they see that you're at your best, then definitely they're going to want to get closer to you. And I've had instances of that where, I have like I said, I'm very progressive in some ways, and I'm starting to get returns on my investments. So certain people see that, and when they see it, all of a sudden I get more attractive. All of a sudden I become a better man for them in their eyes. So that's the whole point, is if you can be a better man for yourself in your own eyes, you can be a better man for whatever woman you may need or may want. You may not need her, but you may want her. So it goes back, you know, all the way back to what we started with. Those men that are in those groups, they haven't developed to the point where they want to be the best they can be. They just want to
Yeah.
be in that moment when they were partying. And as you know, real men, we work hard, we grind, we stay strong, we have structure, we're disciplined. All of those good, wonderful qualities is what every man should have. And a lot of these guys in those groups, they're lacking it, because
Yeah.
they may have had a not a father in their life, or they might have had a weak father in their life. So those are the things that you may want to be working. These we're giving you examples. Each single episode, we give you a different example on how to measure your masculinity.
Yeah.
And that's how you want to measure it, to see, are you surrounding yourself with the right people? Are you surrounding yourself with people that are going to progress with you, or are you surrounding with people that are going to want to bring you down? Are you surrounding yourself with people that keep you in your same place? Are you surrounding yourself with people that don't let you grow? And if you
Yeah.
do grow, then all of a sudden, oh, you're the bad guy. So those, they start the guilt trip. So those are the things that we try to show in this particular, in all these episodes in this podcast. We want to show how you can start measuring yourself and your masculinity to be at its best, for you to be at your best. Now, you have to put work into it, of course, and it takes discipline. So all these things, you got to surround yourself with people like that. If you surround yourself with people that have bad habits, you're also going to have bad habits. If you surround yourself with people that have good
Mhm.
habits, you're going to have good habits. We take care of ourselves. We work out. May not see it on me, but we're very disciplined on that. And our small community that we have right now are guys that are going to try to better themselves. Some of them, are already married, and they have everything already set practically. So they're not worried about their physique anymore. They're more worried about their business and how to grow their business and how to grow economically, and how we can all contribute a little bit to help them grow and help them progress, at the same time make ourselves progress. So that's how real men actually work in a group. Um,
Yeah.
they actually support each other in the aspect of, we try to do the best, be the best we can be, for ourselves, and we try to guide the rest of us to be a little bit better as well. It's not so much about going out there and vandalizing and intoxicating yourself and damaging your brain cells. It has nothing to do with that. If you're around people like that, then most likely you're missing a lot, and you probably have a nice
Mhm.
big void in your heart that you can't fill, and that's because you can't love yourself. That's what that big hole and that big void is that you don't have enough love for yourself, so you feel empty inside, and you feel alone. When you're alone, physically alone, you feel even more alone. It gets lonely. Whereas guys like us, when we're alone, we actually take time to learn. We take time for ourselves, how we can better ourselves, how we can concentrate on progressing. What are we missing? How can we do things better? That's how we think, and that's the mentality every
Yeah.
man should have. So we're gonna end this one a little bit. Yeah, no, we're gonna end it on time. For a while, we've been going over the time, but this time I think we're right on time. So,
Yeah.
Mr. Shadowman, I'd like to hear a summary of what you have to say, and give us your insight before we go.
Yeah. Of course. So everybody listening, we all heard what we discussed, and for me, I would say is that surround yourself with the best people. See their habits, notice the bad habits, see who's right to be on your side for anything. And if you're in a group of people who have good habits, then you'll be in good habits, and your life you'll be successful. You're going to go down the right path. But if you go down the wrong group, your life is just waiting for destruction to happen. And I think that's all I have to say.
Perfect. Perfect. For those that noticed that the mysterious man was missing, we had a little technical difficulties, and unfortunately, he couldn't continue. But I'm sure he agrees that yeah, we should better ourselves, and that we hope everybody can learn